Hi guys, so on a recent video I had this effect where I made a map within GeoLayers and I was flying the camera down the border of the map as all these explosions were occurring, and you had this really nice blur effect around the edge. Now, as what makes that special is that was real depth of field created by a camera within After Effects. Now, before we dive in, this is quite a render and time intensive method of doing this. So if you wanted a quick way of basically faking depth of field with a blur mask, then I'll link to a tutorial down in the description where you can do that. But let's just jump in. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new composition, and we want this just to be a 1080 or a 4K composition. So what you do is you create this. Now you go over to GeoLayers and you create a composition. Now this composition within GeoLayers is not going to be the same sizing as the other composition. It's going to be this enormous 10,000 by 10,000 size composition. Now you can use whatever map. I'm going to use Bing Aerial. If you want to load up, there we go. Now the way this works is you're not actually doing any movement within GeoLayers. Instead, you're basically just going to have this enormous composition and you're going to be doing all the movement within a camera within After Effects. Now in my example, that I played at the beginning, I was doing it in Transnistria, which is this non-existent country that basically borders Ukraine and Moldova. I did a recent video on it if you want to check that out. Pluggity plug. So what you want to do is you want to basically have an assessment of how close you can zoom in here without it then cutting off the edge if you were to tilt it at an angle but with a camera. Because the closer you zoom in, the higher definition map imagery GeoLayers is going to render in. So we've zoomed in and then we need to hit finalize here. Right, so now it's created this very high resolution imagery. But if you see, it's basically this size here. So what we need to do is hold shift so it doesn't change scale and zoom that down so it fits within our standard composition. Now something important to remember to do is to enable 3D model here. Now, I'm going to add a country outline, which for me is going to be Transnistria. So when we do this, two things you need to do. You need to remember to draw it inside the map comp and also make sure that simplified geometry isn't ticked because we're going to be zooming right into this, so you're going to need that detail. So I'm just going to draw that now. So now that's now within the map comp. Now is what we're going to do is we're going to click into the map comp. I'm just going to change the styling of this because I don't really like how it looks. That's a bit better. Okay, now it's up to you, whatever you want to add into here. I'm going to add in some explosion effects, which I've got from Envato Elements. Now you need to be doing this within the 10,000 by 10,000 composition as well. So you can see I've opened it up here, resulting in this square image. Right, now something that you're going to want to remember to do is once you've positioned these explosion effects, you're going to want to take a note of what period of time they're over. So as you can see with this example, the explosions occur over about a 5-second period. That's going to be important later. So this is all occurring within the 10,000 by 10,000 composition. So now we need to click back into our main 1080p composition. Let's just shorten it down to that 5 seconds that we did earlier. That'll do. I just wanted to add an extra note as well. If any of you have memory issues, that basically the files are too large here within After Effects so it keeps crashing, one thing that you can do is before you've added any of this camera work on, is what you can do is you basically render out the video as an H.264 40 megabytes per second file from within After Effects, and then you bring that into a new composition and then do all your camera work on that. It will basically reduce the memory requirements in order to do this. Okay, so I'm going to be using this paid plugin called Handycam. You don't need to use Handycam. It's what Handycam basically does is it's a simplification of the camera effects that already exist within After Effects. Now for those that do have Handycam, is what we're going to do is we're going to create a new null object, and we're going to position it down the bottom, press P to create a position keyframe, and we're going to go through to the end of that length of time that the explosions occur over, and we're going to drag it up And then we're just going to apply some easy ease to that movement just to get it looking nice. If anyone's wondering, this is Motion 4. It's another paid plugin, but well worth it. So you see there, the null object is roughly following along the explosions. Now, so what we're going to do is we're going to go Handy Cam. It's going to add this effect, and we're going to hit Setup, which has created a camera for us. Now, Transnistria is kind of at this funny angle, so I'm just going to alter the Z orbit a tiny bit, which is going to get the movement of the null object facing up the screen. And then we're going to twirl down to the Y position offset. We're going to do this, which is going to move it way back away from us like that. Straighten up a tad. There we go. And then we're going to do Z dolly to bring us way, way back in. I reckon we can do a bit more of that Y offset. And take us back in with the Z dolly. And that basically gives us this really nice shallow angle as we're looking down the border. So that flies along there like that. Now, the last thing that we need to do is you need to go to lens. So you see it's all still sharp around here. Full, so you can see that. It's all still sharp, the imagery around here. So depth of field, you need to enable the depth of field. And then when it's talking about a focus layer, we need to select Handycam Controller 1. It's what this is doing, is it's basically telling the camera, I want that null object to be the point of focus. So when you do it, it pops in there. Now you see we have this beautiful, beautiful depth of field. It's a little high, let's take it down to 75. And there we go. So if you want to watch the original video that I figured out this effect for, then I'll link that down to the description, and I hope that was useful. Thanks.